Hello and welcome to Bloomberg TV India, part of the world's biggest financial news network. This is The Big Story. I'm Vivek Law. Our first big story, capital markets regulator SEBI has noticed irregularities in the advance or pre-brokerage that the brokers are charging to their investors. Bloomberg TV India learns that in many instances, the pre-brokerage is much higher than prescribed in exchange regulation. Now, to nip the menace in the bud, SEBI has released draft guidelines for brokers on the issue. Jayashree joins us with more details on this. Tell us, Jayashree.
Well, indeed, SEBI has observed irregularities in the pre-brokerage that brokers are charging their clients. In many instances, the brokers allegedly have taken brokerage in advance, which is higher than the fees a client would have paid per transaction basis. To explain the context, let's take an example. A broker charges 25,000 rupees as advance brokerage and does transaction worth only 12,000 rupees. And in such cases, SEBI has observed that these brokers are allegedly not refunding the unutilized amount to the client. To curb this problem, SEBI has issued a draft circular that says that broker needs to decide their advance brokerage policy beforehand. The client must have an option of pre-brokerage or a normal brokerage. The time period for which a pre-brokerage should not be more than a year, and in no circumstances the pre-brokerage should be higher than what is prescribed in the exchange regulations, and the unutilized brokerage should be refunded to the client. These regulations would come into effect for new accounts as soon as SEBI comes out with the notification. For old accounts, the broker would be given a year to comply. Back to you.
All right, stay with us.